Thank you very much, and welcome all of you. Before 2006, Bolivia was known as the poorest country of South America with the highest extreme poverty ratio, one of the highest Gini coefficient, persistent fiscal deficits, high inflation rates, low annual growth rates, the highest regional non-performing loans, persistent external imbalances, and high social and political volatility. Since 2006, when President Evo Morales came to office, this sad story is in the past. Bolivia now is a new country. It is not anymore the poorest country of South America, and it's the fifth country with better income distribution index of the region. Bolivia now has a strong macroeconomic performance, the lowest unemployment rate, the lowest non-performing loans, and consistent social progress. In fact, beside the international crisis, Bolivia this year will get the highest growth rate in the region for a second consecutive year, and for the third time in the President Morales government. In 2006, we put in place a new economic model, which we call it the Economic, Social, Comunitarian, and Productive model, in which the state assumes an active role and where the economic surplus generated by the strategic sectors like hydrocarbons, mining, and electricity, and others, is channeled to the industrialization program and to the social programs by the government, which are aimed to enhance the output base and achieve better income redistribution for reducing the high levels of poverty prevailing in Bolivia until 2005. If you look at the figures, the macroeconomic figures that Bolivia has, we have two Bolivias. The old Bolivia before 2006 and the new Bolivia since 2006. For example, net international reserves. At the end of 2005, we have $1.7 billion. And this year, we are around $14.2 billion. External debt. We receive a country with a ratio debt GDP of 52%, and now we have only 17%. The average growth rate in 1985-2005 period was around 3%. The average growth rate during the period 2006-2014 it is 5%, so the potential output has grown all this time. The nominal GDP, of course, at 2005 was $9 billion, and now we are talking about $33 billion, almost 3.6 times what we received in 2005. Public investment, which is the engine of the growth in our country, in our model. The average in 1985-2005 was $550 million, almost 5% of the GDP at the time. Now the average in 2006 and 2014, it's $2.7 billion, 5 times what we received in the past. And also it represents 9.6% of the GDP. And maybe it's one of the reasons why Bolivia is still growing in this new environment where the prices are going down, and many countries in South America are not having the same successful economic indicators. But Bolivia is still growing because there is a strong state investing in the back. The extreme poverty rate in 2005 was 38%. So we were the highest extreme poverty rate in the region. But now, according to the international organization statistics and figures, Bolivia has 17.3% of extreme poverty rate. It means that around 2 million people are living the poverty situation and getting better standard of lives. The Gini coefficient in 2005, we were very close to Brazil with a 0.6, and now we have only 4.47, which means that we have a better and more equal distributed country, and we are now, as I said before, the 5th better country with better distribution, income distribution in the region. We also have the lowest unemployment rate. Unemployment rate in 2005 was 8.2%. Now we have the lowest unemployment rate in the region with 3.5%. Inflation rate was a very worrying subject in the past for Bolivia. We were in between 1982 and 1984 the second highest hyperinflation in the world. And in the average 1985-2005, Bolivia has an average of 400% of inflation rate. Now, in 2006-2014, Bolivia has an average of 6.6% of inflation rate. Foreign direct investment. In the past, during 1996 and 2005, where Bolivia started the process for privatizing and selling off our public enterprises and our national resource, we received an average in this period $753 million. But now, with even all what happened in our country since 2006, and in the period 2006-2014, Bolivia has an average of gross foreign direct investment of $1.2 billion. And of course, if we look at the figures in 2003, for example, we have $1.7 billion of net foreign direct investment. Also, the agencies, the rating agencies, for example, Standard & Poor's, in 2005, we have B-, and all what happened at the time is a trend to be C in the past. But now, since 2009 and onwards, Bolivia has been improving all these rating agencies, and Standard & Poor's, for example, gave us this year, 2015, BB stable, which in these moments where the prices are going down and the crises are affecting many countries in South America and Latin America, it is to be stable, it's a good thing. The above-mentioned results were reflected in the continuous credit risk upgraded by rating agencies such as Standard & Poor's, Fitch, and Moody's. Nowadays, Bolivia's credit risk for Moody's is Ba3, BB for Standard & Poor's, and Fitch has rated Bolivia just 2 notches below the investment grade. These improvements in the country's credit risk is highly positive for Bolivia because future foreign debt issues will be less costly. A strong macroeconomic performance and solid external profile and sound financial policy allowed Bolivia to successfully return to capital markets after almost 100 years, selling 2 benchmark sovereign bonds issued in 2012 and 2013, with a 10-year maturity. Proceedings from these bonds were allocated to expand the national road network, which will generate productivity gains and increase GDP potential in the medium and long term. Dear participants, as I have demonstrated, Bolivia has gone through a historical period of economic achievements, which has allowed to the Bolivian people to reach economic, social, and political stability. After a process of reforms, Bolivia now has a modern regulatory framework that establishes favorable conditions for investors across all sectors, and the state is set to continue applying policies to enhance the output base, and ultimate reduce poverty and inequality. For that matter, an ambitious 5-year investment plan has been prepared, which envisages an investment program of $40 billion dollars in the next 5 years. Details of such plan will be provided by Mr. René Orellana at the beginning of the next panel. As you can imagine, we are here to intense your interest in investing in Bolivia, and I will be glad to answer any questions you have. Thank you very much.
How much longer and how can Bolivia defy gravity?
Thank you so much for the question. First of all, there is a new model running in Bolivia, which has changed already the way to do it, the economic policy in my country. We not only rely on the external demand, but also in the internal demand, which we have a lot of room for doing that, and that's why Bolivia is doing very well so far. Because all the prices and all the countries which have bet the economic growth on the external demand are facing problems because the external demand is completely low. But now, in Bolivia, we are relying our growth in the internal demand, which is made by the redistribution model we have. Not only for people, but also regionally, we are redistributing money and income among people. So that's the key issue. Also, it's important to tell that we are diversifying the economy. It is true that at the beginning we have very concentrated exports on hydrocarbons and mining. But now, slowly, but we are just getting in the industrialization process. Next year we're going to sell urea and ammonia, which is a new product for us. And we have a lot of set of industries in mind as a government. And of course, also to export electricity and other power to the neighbors. And it is important to have the participation of all foreign direct investment in these issues. So that's why we are succeeding now in facing these new prices.
Thank you. I mean, Bolivian debt is very low, so definitely in theory it's possible to have a counter-cyclical fiscal stimulus. We've got such a pressing schedule that I'm going to encourage the next panel to come to the stage. And questions for the Minister, I hope you'll be able to ask him in the networking sessions that will take place in the middle of the morning, and also when there's more time at the very end of the panel. I think that's going to be the most efficient use of everyone's time here today. So thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you.